Good morning, Survivor Rights. Here we are coming to you on Father's Day morning. It is also, for those of us here in the Northern Hemisphere, summer solstice. So it's the longest day and the shortest night. So one of my favorite days of the year for sure. Um, our guest today is my dear friend Steve VanDermyden. We have some exciting news for you guys that we're going to be doing starting this week, but I have a few announcements to get started with. First of all, if you have not watched Ted's video that he posted last night, I just have to say, please do before our big show this coming Wednesday. So we have a huge show coming on Wednesday with Cherie Kropp, Bruce from Wings Telling the Truth, Bruce Murdoch from Wings for Truth, and Cynthia Lyles, private investigator with 2x2 Accountability. So that is going to be a ginormous show. It's going to be a 2-hour special. It will be followed up with a panel that we're going to be doing within a week or two after that. We'll let you know on the date of that for tomorrow. But so Ted's video could not be more timely. So please, 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 if you're planning to watch that, please do so before Wednesday. Also, yeah, Steve, the post that was on Exposing last night about tattoos and earrings, I got out my big dangly earrings today and a short sleeve shirt so that all my tattoos can be on display.
Bring it on.
Well, you know what? There was a time in my life that I used to hope that if they knew why I have the tattoos that I do, or the all of it, that they would care. They don't.
No.
That's been my harsh reality, is letting go of that hope. And sadly, it's the same for a lot of
Yeah, it's just another way to minimize.
Yes, totally. And hold down in fear. But anyway, our big news, we are finally going to launch this week. Talking It Through with Steve and Crystal. We will be live streaming every Thursday, so weekly at 11 a.m. Pacific. On here on Survivor. It will also stream directly to my personal page. It will stream also to our to the LifeSpark YouTube channel, because he runs a men's group, I run a women's group. Specifically, those two groups are for just the 2x2 people. But what we talk about is relative to the whole world. So it's LifeSpark specific. Which is really the ultimate goal here, is that we would move on from the high control church and move into living a vibrant life. You and I are both life coaches, Steve, and we both like to jibber jabber and have a lot to talk.
We do.
We've also done a lot of work. You and I have both been married more than once, and we have done years, decades of our own work. And if we can help anybody out there figure out how to get in touch with their emotions, communicate more clearly, all the things we're going to talk about today, we're going to start talking about every week. So that's our exciting news.
Yep, it's fun stuff. Looking forward to it.
I can't wait. Okay, so today we are going to talk about saying what you mean, meaning what you say, not saying it mean without fear.
It's a tough one.
It's a very tough one. We've had a lot of conversations this as long as we've been doing this, about shame. And I know for sure that shame unravels connection. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about that because that's partly what's going on here. The other thing I wanted to say is, I've been talking about this a little bit. Doing those, we're in Healing Circle facilitator training right now through Pathways to Healing. Learning a lot about listening. Fascinating. I just want to read the quote that I wrote down from yesterday's session. The purpose of learning to listen is to lessen the suffering of others. We are all looking to feel understood.
Yes.
I thought that would be a great quote to start today with, because damn it, why is it so hard, Steve? Why is communication so hard? We go over it in our head a million times, but it does not come out our mouth. And if it does, it comes out wrong.
Yeah, and the easy answer to that is we were trained not to.
Amen. Generations. We were taught not only to not think or feel.
Yeah.
We were taught not to say it. If
And
we
taught
did
what to
dare,
think, feel, and say.
Yes, if we did dare think or feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to welcome a few people that are out here saying hello, good morning. Fran saying Ted's video was the best. Yes. Diane, good morning. Beverly, good morning. Made it. Yes, very exciting. Lynn Small, Sarah Mitchell. Let's see who else is out there if I can. Anyway, good morning. It's not showing it to me again. Uh, okay, so we were taught that. We know that for sure. So why are we so afraid? Is that just part of that we were taught that? But it's not just people in the 2x2 church. I think in general, people are afraid to say it. I have my thoughts. What are yours?
Yeah, it is everywhere. I think it's especially heavy in this system, but you see it a lot everywhere. It's kind of like the, for lack of a better term, misogynistic, patriarchal society we've lived in for the last couple hundred years. It
Absolutely.
just makes it harder for everybody. Men don't have to, women aren't allowed to.
Yep. I recorded a Yes You Can this morning about Yes You Can Let Them Dislike You. Because it's not easy for us to be unliked or to welcome
Yeah.
that whatever. We're afraid they're going to get angry. We're afraid that they might leave us if it's a marriage or something, or that they'll think less of us because we actually have an opinion. I mean, there's a million reasons that people do
Yeah.
it.
And their
Um,
like or dislike really means more about them than you.
Absolutely.
It means nothing about who you are.
We get so caught up in thinking that people give a flying you know what, but they don't.
Yeah.
They're so busy thinking about themselves and what they're going to say and what they're going to do and whatever. So, okay, we've acknowledged that that's what we all do. What happens when we keep swallowing that truth? Year after year, day after day, week after week, what happens?
It's when we swallow words, truth, it's like everything, hurt becomes resentment. And swallowing our truth hurts, being able to respond. Fear turns into anxiety. How many people suffer from a lot of anxiety?
A lot.
That's fear of speaking your truth. Not only, but that's a big player. Angerness turns into that famous word we all hear, bitterness. Those bitter people.
Nobody wants to be bitter.
No, but there's a lot of angry people.
Hmm.
And that's it turns to bitterness, but it's also called bitterness when we leave. And grief, that can become depression. But
Yes.
all those are byproducts of swallowing our truth.
And with all that said, the truth doesn't disappear, Steve.
No, it's still
It
there.
doesn't disappear. It's still sitting right there, staring at us.
Yeah.
Makes me crazy. And here's what other happens. It comes out sideways, like you just said, in a lot of other ways. Our body keeps the score, so we get sick or, all the other stuff that goes
Yep.
with that. But um,
A lot of autoimmune.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's a big depression.
yeah,
There's a whole litany of things that the body stores. I mean, from cancers to you name it.
yes. Or it comes out in our behavior, or
Yes.
both.
Yeah, yeah.
We get mad at the cashier at the grocery store, but what we're really mad about is the fact that we can't say what we really want to say to the people that matter to us.
And that's true for men and women.
Oh,
It's
100%.
yeah, yeah,
100%.
yeah. I mean, all of that stored up resentment, anger, rage, not being able to speak it comes out. It just in ways that are not healthy.
It
And yeah,
does.
you see it so much in public.
Oh, especially these days, the world we live in is
Yeah.
off the charts. Okay, so here's what today is really about. How can we learn to do differently? That is the biggest thing. And how can we be honest without being cruel? That's my little saying I started out with. Say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. How can we be honest without being cruel? And so many of us don't know how to do that. Let's talk it through.
Yeah, I think very few people know how to do that. And it's a struggle when you start finding a voice. You want to speak your truth. You want to speak honest. A lot of times it comes out loud and inappropriate. It's your truth. It doesn't mean that's the best way to say it. And I think a lot of times, one simple thing to learn is if you start with you instead of I, it may be kind of brutally honest, not honesty with compassion. I think that's the biggest thing is learning to speak our truth honestly, but with compassion. How am I delivering it? I mean, I could just tell you, it's like, you really seem grouchy today, Crystal. Well, that might be my truth, but that doesn't leave you any space except you have to turn around and start defending, no, I'm really not, I'm this or that, or this is going on in my life. If I come to you and say, Crystal, you seem a little off today. What's is something going on you want to talk about? Now that's honest because I'm feeling something, but I'm just letting you have space also to talk about what's going on for you. So that's the difference between like brutal honesty and honesty with compassion.
Yes. And it's as simple also is I've had times that I've had to say, there's something bothering me that I would, because if your partner doesn't have that tool, you can say, but you need to say something.
Yeah.
There's something that's been bothering me that I want to talk to you about. I would like to make sure that it's the right time. So rather than you're standing and doing dishes aggressively and slamming the refrigerator door and they're going, what's wrong? And you're like, I'm fine. You're not. And then you're clearly not fine. So just say, I would like, the timing really needs to be right. I think it's kind of goes, we're going to eventually get to intimacy and setting the stage for things like that, but we're not even close to that. We're still just trying to say, I'm freaking hurting, man.
Even saying I'm not fine. Anything.
Right. Without saying, I'm fine. I'm not fine. That's an easy response.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be discussed in that moment. I think that's the other thing that a lot of us get caught in is the urgency. Once we like have the courage to say one teeny tiny little thing, then it's like this vomit happens.
Yeah. And the emotions become urgent.
Yes.
Responses can come later, but it's so easy to get caught up in the urgency of the emotion that's right on top and it needs to get out. But when we can self-soothe a little bit and it's like, yeah, something's bothering me, but can we set some time aside to talk about this when we
Yes.
both have some quiet time later?
Yes.
It's so important that's just self-care.
It is. And what I've also discovered is when I have the courage to do that in relationship, it doesn't matter what the relationship is, friendship, business associate, spouse, all of it. It works the same exact way. Um,
Every connection like that is a relationship and it's all communication. It's no different.
and 9 times out of 10, they know what's coming.
Yeah.
So that gives them a little minute to prepare as well. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to not lie to you. They're going to get defensive the first few times you do this. It's hard. But again, like you said, like when you start out with everybody knows that you're impossible to deal with,
Yeah.
doesn't go over
You're
so
putting
well.
labels on them that aren't necessarily true for them.
Right.
And now
They
they've
may
got to
not know
defend the
that.
fact that that's not true before they can talk about what's really going on. So now you've just dumped on a double dose of things they need to talk about that's not fair to them.
Right.
Instead of like, I can see something's going on with you and I'd be happy to, would you like to talk about it? Is there something you need to discuss? Give them space to bring up in a healthy way what's going on for them.
I totally agree. Beverly's saying that our nervous systems were never allowed to be regulated. That is so true.
Oh yeah.
And I think we could do a whole class just on that. What it means, like how do you even know that your nervous system is regulated? Because I think a lot of people, particularly coming out of high control religions, don't even know that their nervous system is in charge.
Yeah.
What they're used to is just fight or flight, like rigid, constantly in stress mode, rather than having an awareness about their nervous system and how it works, let alone how to regulate it.
Yeah. I think it's important to step back a little bit and talk about why we're at where we're at. And if you look at people that are in an emotionally abusive relationship, verbally abusive, the dynamics, the language, the control is exactly the same in systemic abuse, which is religious, spiritual, all the different names. It's the very same thing, the very same behavior. So when we can realize we've spent generations in an emotionally abusive relationship with an institution,
Yes.
you can really just read books on emotional abuse and understand the life you were living in inside of the two by twos. It's it's really clear. It's really simple. So if you start looking at it and untangling it from that perspective, that we have never been allowed voice. Men had voice but no authority. No, excuse me, authority but no voice.
Right.
We could parrot what we were taught, and women had one step below that because you had the husband typically that you were in subjection to. So your only role was to placate, to be compliant, to be the peacemaker, and peace doesn't always mean going along with the program. In reality, peace is more, talking it out, real peace. But keeping the peace in this system is placating others' emotions, whether it's a husband, whether it's a worker. Because you think if you step back and if you ask a question or say something a little out of line to a worker, there's like, you feel like there's a little black check next to your name, and the next
There
worker in the
is.
field knows that. And, you have might have a bad spirit, keep an eye on this person. But in reality, you're the person that's stepping out of line a little bit that we need to keep an eye on. That's the truth, even though it's couched in a, bad spirit term. It's
Right.
like this person's asked a question, said something that's a little out of line with our way of thinking, so we better keep an eye on that. So, if you need to, make another black check, but keep an eye on them.
Yes, I totally agree, Steve. Yesterday, speaking of the Healing Circle facilitator training, I had a little bit of a meltdown in our circle because I'm not supposed to talk outside of it. But since I'm the one that did it, I'm going to say this. When I started Worthy 2.5 years ago for women, I thought it was going to be fun to do the hair and makeup. And then very quickly, I started getting the messages about domestic violence and all of the stuff that went with it. All of the addictions and all of the stuff. And it was so overwhelming. Like I was prepared to have some fun. I was not prepared for what happened. But I have to say, that is what led me to doing the work that I'm doing now. That reality that came out of how incredibly pervasive the problem really was, and how deep it really goes, and and it's what you just said, decades and generations of women specifically, but also men, no voice.
Absolutely. No, it affects everybody, just in little bit different ways, but it's affected everybody just as much.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
has.
men really don't have any more voice than women do. They're allowed to speak, they have authority, but again, voice, and a voice of truth, a voice of wisdom. I mean, case in point, my older brother became a worker at 19, fresh out of high school, a year out of high school. He hardly knew anything. He went to preps at Gilroy in August, and by September he was in a field. And he told me one day, the first couple of weeks in his field, he was sitting with a man that was in his early 50s. And this man was now asking him career advice, marriage advice, and child rearing advice. And he says, I didn't know anything about this at all, but I am now the voice of God. And he said, I had nothing. And he says, but that's the way the system builds, is now that he was a worker, he was immediately bestowed upon the authority to speak on anything. And I don't care what he would have said, that man would have done it.
Yes. Ah, it is so heartbreaking. And I'm just glad that we have the opportunity to do what we're doing now. And, you know, to realize that we need to do this weekly, because once a month is just not enough for how deep the problem
Right.
goes. And I mean, and we both just love to talk. But I hear you. And I love that whole peacekeeping thing too, because I don't know if you saw what I wrote this week, but in fact, I know you did. You said something about it. But I wrote a piece about keeping the peace because I was really struggling, because I had been told by several people that I was many of us are being spoken about from the platform a lot this year. And so I was really struggling with that. And I had kind of put it on a shelf, and it was like, oh, I'll talk about this later. Or I'll think about this later. I'll deal with it later. So I did that on my road trip, and I really went through this whole, like, but I am a disruptor. Like, and how did I make peace with that? A lot of people replied, peacekeeping is not the same as peacemaking. And it was so reassuring to get all that feedback and love from so many people. But and I think that that's true, and that's what we're teaching and modeling for people, that we do better when we know better, all of us.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
um,
That was a really good one. The peacemaking, peacekeeping.
yeah, I thought long and hard about that. I wrote that. It took me 2.5 weeks of reading it over and over and making tweaks to it, just because it was so deeply emotional for me. Okay, let's talk for a second about, is it possible that something can be true, but we don't have to say it? It's
Yeah.
unnecessary to say.
That's where being honest with compassion comes in, and the difference of that, and speaking brutally. Brutal truth is never like just telling you you're. A lot of times, brutal truth puts our opinion, our view of a person, and a label on them of what their emotions or feelings are. Because to us, that is true. Like I said earlier, you're sure grouchy today. It can be as light as that, but that might be my truth, but it might be my honest truth because that's what I see. But that's not true for you. So really true honesty comes with compassion. Am I saying this in a way that is healthy for that person to receive?
Right.
I see you're a little off today. Anything you want to talk about? And
Big
if you're like,
difference.
no, there's just some things going on and I'm good, but there's other things that I have in my mind. All right, now I understand. And we go on our way. But a lot of times, brutal honesty is weaponized and can be used to tear down people.
Yes.
So I think it's really important to be careful and that's where I go back to using the I statements instead of the you statements. Don't label the person with an emotion. Talk about what you're noticing, what you're feeling, what your emotions are, because both are honest,
Right.
but one is really more compassionate and truthful, and just said in a way that it can be heard. And a lot of it is like, am I saying this in a way that can be received and heard well?
Right. I think discernment comes in there a lot for both sides, like just learning how to stop and think before you speak.
Yeah, because it's a thing that I've often said, we're responsible for the words we say and how we say them, but we're not responsible for how they're received.
Amen. Yes.
Sometimes a real truth is uncomfortable, but we can say it in a healthy way, and how it's received is ultimately not our problem. Like, you've been speaking your truth and they're speaking back from the platform about you. That's their problem. Because you're
Totally
speaking in an
agree.
honest, compassionate way.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly that. But I will also say, my other thing that I wanted to say on this, specifically to my women friends out there, don't ask your husband if you're fat or that outfit makes you look fat or whatever it is. If you are not wanting that answer, okay? So that's a two-sided thing here, okay?
There is that. The
There
other
is
side of
that.
that, if that question is asked to me, it might be, I might just say, that's a question I'm not going to win either way I answer, so I'm just going to keep quiet. There's no good answer to that one.
Exactly. My husband says, if I ever do that, he says, what I think people are really seeing, Crystal, is that you're a crazy blonde that gives a shit.
There you go. I
And
have a son-in-law that said, when asked that particular question, do these pants make me look fat? His answer was, no fatter than any of your other pairs. And completely not realizing what he was saying. She
yes,
got a good laugh out of it. It was a very innocent way he said it, but
yes,
we still
yes.
tease him about it years later.
That's hilarious. So yeah, so just be careful what you're asking. Same
Yeah.
thing. It's just a two-way street there. That's all I'm saying. But okay. So why do people confuse being nice and being kind? Because there's a really big difference, especially on this issue.
Yeah. Nice can be fake.
Boom.
Kindness comes from the heart.
Amen, brother.
Kindness comes with thoughtfulness.
Yes.
Am I thinking about what I'm saying? Am I thinking how it's going to impact them? Am I
Yes.
focusing on how I'm feeling instead of
Yes.
labeling how they're feeling? But yeah, niceness is often, I almost don't like the word sometimes because it has this connotation of fakeness with it.
Yes.
It can be an act, it can be a mask.
That's the whole church. That's how we were raised. We were trained to be nice, not to be kind,
Yeah.
not to be
Good.
kind, but
We
to
were
be nice.
taught good people are compliant people.
Yes.
Yeah.
How horrible.
Hmm.
Yeah. Gail Craig is saying that even children not allowed to express emotion with pain and spanking or crying after correction, being told to stop crying or I'll really give you something to cry about. How many of
Oh, yeah.
us in that church grew up with that? How many of us? All of us around
Every,
the world. Thousands of us.
yeah.
Thousands.
Even if there's no spanking, which there was a lot, especially my generation,
Oh, very much
um,
so.
I got plenty. Um, Even without that, it's the be quiet, don't speak up, don't, dismissing children's fears, children's thoughts, children's opinions.
Yes.
Why not engage with them on an age appropriate level about whatever they need to talk about?
Totally. She literally went on to say that tight hold onto emotion leaks into adulthood.
Yeah,
It does.
it
It
does,
does.
because if you don't train them young to be compliant, they're never going to be compliant.
Right.
So yeah, it starts, from the time they're infants.
And you and I talked, I think, in our last show about that what ends up happening is when you say to them as an adult, well, where would you like to go for dinner? They
Yeah,
literally don't have an answer.
none.
I have no idea. And it's that simple. I mean, we're talking, you and I are talking big things. We're talking, do you want to stay in this relationship? Do you want to stay in this religion? Because that's the same thing. Like you already said, you're in an abusive relationship. Do you want to stay in it? That's what you and I are talking about. But what I have come to realize, and that's where like my breakdown yesterday, when I truly realized how deep the wound is, and I realized that what we're really saying is they don't even know how to say, I would like to go, I would like Asian.
Yeah, yeah, because we were trained from infancy to not have an opinion,
Yeah.
to not have a thought. And it is, I mean, you can pick up any book on emotional abuse and read about the church we came from.
Yes.
It is no difference.
Spot on.
We've talked before that my late wife came from a very emotionally abusive relationship, and that's really where I learned about it from, was her previous husband. And helping her recover from that, it was amazing to see how far down a person can just almost not exist. The self is almost gone. And
Yes.
that's really what we're facing coming out of this church is there is no sense of self in a lot of people. I had that when I came out. It's who am I? What do I
Right.
want? What do I think? What do I care about?
Right.
What is my truth? And we don't know.
So, and we talked in a couple shows ago. So if you haven't watched those, you might want to go back and watch them. We already had this conversation about how to just start small. Start with thinking about where you want to go for lunch, or what you want to wear, or what you feel good wearing, besides a 40-pound jean skirt and a long sleeve, whatever. Like making even some of those small decisions. No clue. So start there. And
Yeah.
start doing that and go to meeting. Wear something different to meeting. If you're still in meeting, trying to decide if you want to stay in this relationship, start by just making some little changes like that, and show up in meeting and see, like, not to create conflict, but sometimes we can say things out loud. I had somebody this week say, well, I knew you were going to leave meeting because you started dressing differently. Somebody told them that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Well, it's often the truth.
it is.
Yeah, and sometimes, even aside from being able to speak those little things, the little wants and needs, is when something bothers you, disturbs you little bit, don't put it aside. Sit on it, think about it, mull it over, and try to come to a real opinion, a real thought about it. How do I really feel about this thing that's kind of niggling at me? Whether it's something to do with just life in general, a job, a relationship, or leaving the church. If there is something there, maybe it's hard to talk to somebody, but even sitting with it, kind of not internalizing, but just kind of mulling it through the subconscious, thinking about it. look for a true self-meaning for whatever that is, so you have a truth to speak. Because I think a lot of times we don't even know what our truth is.
No.
And that takes thought, it takes conversation. It's a lot of work when you live your whole life without having a truth, except one that you've learned to parrot.
Yep. I work a lot with people around teaching them just how to be honest with themselves, because honestly, that is the only way out, the only way through anything. I don't care what it is in life. If you can't be honest about it, and I tell people, don't even sign up for a session with me if you're not going to be honest with yourself. I don't care if you lie to me, but if you lie to yourself, you are wasting your money and my time.
Every bit.
Please
Yeah.
don't. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, you're just saying I'm okay with the way the thing's always been
Yeah. If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you always got.
every
Like,
time.
you got to start somewhere, man.
That's 100% one.
Yeah. Okay. I want to go back to this peacekeeping thing. I want to talk for a second because it has a lot to do with why people avoid conflict. So let's talk about that for just a second, because I really feel like that needs to be the essence of kind of as we move forward this morning, because we're asking people to address conflict directly and honestly. So talk to us about that for a second.
About directing conflict honestly.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's not so hard for everybody. uh, direct conflict is, again, it's about learning to repair. But it starts with, and I keep repeating this like a parrot too, but it starts with learning how to talk about yourself and your emotions and not putting your emotions on others. And the second piece of that is learning the difference between reacting and responding. We always have an emotional reaction immediately. It's just right there. And that comes usually from our childhood, from our training. It never goes away, no matter how much work you do. Mine are still there. But they're a lot smaller and they're a lot quieter. But what you learn to do over time is to take the pause and wait until you can sort through the reaction until you can find the logical response. Because emotions are not logical at all. They're just emotions that come up. All of our emotions are really formed before we're 7 years old, in the way that we respond to things or react to things. And it's a very simplistic view. We react just like we did as a child to whatever threat there was. Well, that still comes out in us 50 years later. It's there. But we have the choice now to realize that reactions come from a logical place, and emotions and emotions and logic are different.
Totally. But emotions are full of information. I say
Yes.
that to people, like, let me be very clear. I'm not suggesting that anybody be outspoken and crazy like I am. That is not what I say that's not what I mean when I'm saying you need to learn how to be an honest, direct person with yourself and with other people. I'm not saying, please be clear, everybody. I'm not suggesting to be like that, like me. What I am suggesting is that you find your own pace in that. And emotion is information. When those emotions come up, that's why you just said take the pause. In the pause, when you can learn how to, in that moment, analyze, okay, what I just felt was anger, betrayal, rage, fear. Like, if you can figure out what emotions you're feeling, separate those out and say, okay, what is it that the outcome that I want here? Like, what is it that is the goal? Do I want this conflict to escalate, or do I want it to take a minute so that we can all like move forward? So you just nailed it on. There's a big difference between reacting and responding.
Yeah, and I think it's also healthy in that when you're looking at the reaction and looking what are the emotions, I like to look at where are they coming from.
Right.
Where did I react like that as a child? What
Right.
what really is the root of that emotion? And you realize what you're reacting to as a familiar feel to it, something in your childhood, but it's a way different situation. It's just triggering your emotion right now. But that's the healing part of it. And then learning to step back and respond in a logical way helps your emotions and logic over time become closer and closer aligned.
I totally agree. It also helps you to stop projecting onto other people,
Yes.
onto your spouse or onto your children, God forbid, what your parents did to you and how they made you feel, or whatever it was. You're in a bad situation at work, you have a whatever it is.
Yeah.
You don't.
I always say our spouses tend to trigger the childhood in us from with our parents. I mean, our parents, the way our parents handled us tends to come out in something our spouses will say, but it triggers that old stuff. So we react to our spouses as if they were our parent as a child. And there's differences, nuances, but that's kind of the general gist of it. And when, even understanding that piece, and you could replace parents with the church, the institution.
Absolutely.
We're responding to old behaviors, old ways we were treated emotionally. Now let's look at them logically, understand the emotion, understand what we're feeling. And it just brings them closer and closer together. And pretty soon, you're talking about just a little different. When you talked about your voice being really loud, not everybody's has to be. Sometimes the loudest voice is really quiet. But it's spoken with honest truth. Not brutal truth, not hurtful truth, but just honest truth. And it's amazing how well that voice is heard.
Amen to that. I am so deeply grateful for the work that I have done that allows me to do what we are doing now. With that said, I feel so back to the projecting and what we do. I have a little saying that I say a lot. We are responsible to people, not for them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what you said. You're not responsible for how someone takes. You're responsible to them to say what you really feel and what you really mean, but you're not responsible for their reaction. And that is true. So I'm responsible to you, but not for you. And that's the same with the work that we do now. That's what gives me the boundary. So many people say, how do you do it? How do you maintain your life? It's because the difference between most people and us is that we have learned that I don't take on the responsibility for all of these people and the outcome that I love. I love everybody deeply, but I know for sure that the only way that I can help them is to get really clear about being responsible to them and being modeling for my own life, who I am, how I am, why that connection is so important. But I am not responsible for them. They must do their own work. They must find their own way. And therefore I sleep at night.
Yeah. And to that point about being responsible for them in an emotionally abusive relationship, i.e. the church, everyone is responsible for everybody else's emotions.
Yes.
Going up the hierarchy.
That's the essence of abuse.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Crazy
So
making.
letting go of that piece it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. A lot of work.
It's like the first thing somebody needs to start working on.
It is.
Well, even before that, it's just understanding that we've all been in an emotionally abusive relationship for all of our lives.
Yes. And yeah, I do believe that there is a threshold that we must cross that says, I will never again. I will not go back to that. I will not allow them to minimize me, shut me up, keep me small, any of it. I am breaking free of this box, this little teeny tiny box that I have been in my entire life. And I am going to be all of who I am. And man, it is so fun. That's the other thing. When you see them start to blossom and grow and change and have an opinion and create their style, and it is so rewarding.
It is.
Watch that. And that's what I love about this community that we have now is we get to have that and we get to experience it and witness it in one another.
Yeah. Yeah, and going back to voice, and it doesn't have to be loud, it can be as long as it's authentic. One of the things that often happens when people start finding the voice is it does come out loud, really loud. It can come out really angry. It's really unmodulated.
Right.
And that's okay. Yell loud if you need to. Say it loud, however it needs to come out.
Yeah.
And just understanding that over time, you'll find your own modulation and voice and space and what's really authentic for you. But
Yes.
it's like anything we learn, we often way overdo it. I know When I learned it was okay to be angry, it came out loud for a while. And it took time to learn how to manage that emotion. So voice is the same way. Whatever we're learning, it's going to be a little excessive while we learn, and just be okay with that.
Yeah.
It'll find its happy medium someday.
Right. I just want to remind everybody you don't go from not having it to suddenly having it. There's this huge chasm that you got to get over, and you got to start just taking baby steps. So the baby steps are, it's what you're doing right now. Watching this show right now
Yeah.
is a baby step toward, I want to know better. And the more we can model it, the more we can give little tools here and there, and it starts to infiltrate through and break through that. What people need to realize, you don't learn this in osmosis. It's not like you literally keep watching it, go back and take notes, think about it for a while. Don't just move on. You can't just close the door and expect to wake up the next day being a completely different person. That's not reality.
No. Sometimes we want to get it all figured out and then do it. We don't get in shape to go to the gym.
Exactly.
You have
Love
to go
that.
there. You have to go there to start.
Yes.
And it's hard.
It's hard.
It's the first time you go back to the gym and you haven't been in 20 years, it's not easy.
No.
And you
I
don't
want
walk in and it's like, oh, this is different than it's
totally.
you got nothing. You're starting from ground zero, and
Yeah.
everything you do is difficult. This is no different.
I agree. I want to honor what Vonnie's saying right now. I regret raising my kids the way I was raised. I wish I would have stopped that way. And then also Rhonda followed up with, a lot of us do regret it, but we didn't know any better. I want to honor that, because, yeah, you didn't know any better. And you know what? We've talked about this before. I think you and I, apologizing to your children. A lot of people have literally either written their children a letter of apology or sat them down and just said, I am deeply sorry. I did not know. But I want to encourage you, Vonnie, to not stay stuck in that.
No.
Not stay stuck in that regret and pain.
Acknowledging it, beautiful, but it's not a place we have to stay stuck, because
Yes,
we all are doing the best we can with the tools we have and what we know.
right.
And if we didn't know any and we're in an abusive relationship with a church, we don't have many tools to work with, and we did the best we could with that. I've had a number of conversations with my children now that they're adults and they're all in their 30s now. It's a different conversation. They're parents now, and we've had less of an apologetic conversation, more just a real conversation about what I knew, how I parented, how they're parenting, what I would have done different, what I wish I could have done. It was very clearing and helpful for all of us.
I think so. I think that's a great way to handle it, and a great tip on people is to just help them sit down and say, let's learn together. Because it is, back to what I was saying earlier, especially if they're adults now, you're not responsible for them anymore. I know you feel like you are, but you're not. It's
No.
now their responsibility to do the work to heal. And if you can do that together, what a gift.
Yeah, because at the end of the conversation, I laughed and told them, and guess what? There's therapists for what I didn't know.
Yes.
And
There you go.
because we only know what we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't,
So true.
you can't live in regrets.
No,
You
you
just do
can't.
the best you can moving forward, and acknowledge.
Yes, totally agree. So let's talk for a second about what it means to trust yourself enough to speak.
Yeah, that's a tough one. One of the reasons we don't trust ourselves to speak is it's not that we're afraid of speaking, we're afraid of the consequences of speaking.
Boom.
Like, what's going to happen? Who's going to say what? Is honesty safe? It wasn't in when we were in meeting. Only thing was
Absolutely
safe was
not.
speaking the party line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
I was just say it's a matter of just really realizing it is okay to speak our truth, and we have to start speaking it before we can be confident in speaking it. We just have to do it.
Right. Back to going to the gym.
Yes.
I love that analogy. It is also somehow, and that's why, when I refer to worthy, I called it worthy for a reason. It's learning and believing Learning to believe that your thoughts and your feelings and your needs and that your observations have value, that you are worthy of the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's, we come out of a system where we mistake silence for peace.
Yeah.
And but it's really just self-protection. It's not peace.
Well, and I think we're so afraid, what if I'm not right? You don't have to be right all the time. I'm not right
No,
all the time. If you're not right, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't say something. I want to learn. I always want to learn.
I'm often not right. My wife tells me, and
Totally.
it's a good conversation.
Yes. But I have the confidence to say, like, I want the feedback. If I ask somebody, did I say that right? Did that come out right? Was I too strong on that? Like, it's because I really want to know. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
want to
no,
learn. Or maybe I'm just flat out wrong.
and it's okay to be wrong.
Yes.
That's a hard thing to learn.
Yes. It doesn't, like, I'm not a lesser person because I was wrong. I'm
Yeah.
not.
No, it makes you just still who you are. It's just you said something that was incorrect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Um, I also think that we go through, I think that another programming that we had is that we just went through life because it's so cyclical. Like, this is what you go to Sunday morning meeting, then you go to Wednesday night meeting, you go to gospel meeting, like, it's that. So what it does is it lulls you into, like, this. I love to take trains, and this is my view of it. It's like riding the rails. You just ride the rail. It's
Yeah.
so much easier than driving because you're
Right.
on the train, and the train's just going to drop you off when you get there. Like, a train's going to drop you off of heaven, and the rails just go like this and this and this. What we don't do is participate in our own life.
No.
We're
No,
not
we were.
engaged in our
Well,
own reality.
that was dangerous.
Totally dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like expressing yourselves. What does that lead to? Criticism, punishment, withdrawal. You're literally punished for
Loss of
having,
connection.
yeah, loss of connection. Anything that's outside the perceived party line is going to be punished.
And it is punished, and that's what we're used to. And
Yeah.
that's why I think so many people have a difficult time separating God from the system because they believe that God is a vengeful God and that it's all tied together. It's not. Our humanity, like, whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, we have a separate humanity is we have free will. And
Yeah.
we were given free will for a reason. We need to learn how to use it. Part of that is it's in the heart. Yeah, we learned so much about what is the heart of a person, and that's really, if you are still a Christian or whatever, I don't care what religion you are, it's pretty much the same as far as at the end of the day, there's some kind of judgment on your heart, what you did with your life. If that is about it, I think that the expectation of that is that you have to learn. The expectation is that you will learn how to deal with your humanity, to manage your emotions, to have self-control, to all of the things that we're talking about, and how that got confused in the religion, in the 2x2 church or any
Hmm.
high control church, that you're not supposed to have any of that stuff. You just ride the rails. Um, that's the problem.
Yeah. I mean,
We
what
don't learn. We
better
don't have
way to
choice.
be a good human, regardless of what a person's religion is, than to uplift and be a better human around the people you love?
God
And yet
forbid.
we were taught not to be.
Totally. We were taught to be horrible people. Jared Lerwick says that a lot. He says, I was a horrible person. I was a horrible father, a horrible spouse.
Yeah.
And he says, and I think that, again, that's part of the honesty. When we can come to that point and own our own shit, that's the other thing, is I think that so many people get stuck in blaming the institution, blaming the system.
Hmm.
And here's the other thing. I hate to tell you guys this, but here's a news flash. You are responsible for how you allowed them to make you feel.
Yeah.
Darla said that last week on her show, and that was huge on my heart this whole week. She said, no one held a gun to my head and made me become a worker or stay in the work. I had to come to the point of realizing that was my choice.
Yep.
Nobody made me do that. And she's only come to that conclusion in the last few months, really. And to stop blaming them for how she's felt all these years. Well, I'm sorry. Yes, it happened and it sucked and it was horrible. And I'm terribly sorry that all of those bad things happened to so many people. But where do we go now? What do we do now? That's what conversations like this are about. Like, we've got to learn to
Yeah.
stop letting them keep that. Don't waste the rest of your life by letting them keep control, because they're still up there puppeting those, your thoughts, your emotions, your words. Stop.
Yeah, and we all made the probably unconscious choice to stay there.
Yes.
I made more of a conscious choice to stay 20 years longer than I should have. But I knew it was a choice that I didn't want to make. And when we leave, we still have that same choice. Do we want to be burdened by that same system, that same way of thinking, the same style? You may not
Yes.
have the same belief, but the same style of communication, of relating to people. It's a choice. We every day is a choice. You can choose to grow. You can choose to stay where you're at. And I
Yes.
guarantee you, it's never a happy, fun place to stay where you're at.
Never. Even when, I say this about myself a lot. I love my life. I love my marriage. I love everything about my life. That doesn't mean I don't still read books and seek guidance and want to
Mhm.
continually learn and grow. Like I said, there's a lot I don't know. A lot I don't know.
We only know what we know, and there is a lot out there. I don't know
Yeah,
what you
you
don't know.
never arrive. It's
Yeah.
just, but I think it's the permission. I think so many people need permission. I would like to officially, in this moment, right here, right now, give anybody listening permission to grow and change.
Everybody needs that permission. That's great. And I'm going to add to that is we have to acknowledge it's hard work. It's
Yes,
not
it is.
necessarily fun work.
It
I,
is.
I always had conflicting when I would have to dive into something I needed to figure out. There was always conflicting feelings, like I couldn't wait to figure it out, but I dreaded the process. But I knew it was good. I knew it was worth getting to the other end. And the first few times didn't really know that it was going to be good at the other end. You just know you had to get through this. But after you're doing it, going through a few things and learning some things, you start realizing like, I don't want to have to figure this out, but I need to figure this out. I don't want the process. I want the result. But there's no
Yes.
shortcuts. There's no way to get there but through. You've got to take the class.
And we had a master class in what not to do.
Well, that's the beauty of it. We have a great example there.
Yeah.
Everything we learn, just don't do that.
Yeah. Um, Lolly is saying, I am watching you as my family is listening to convention in the other room. Amen, girl. Amen, sister.
Right?
And you
At
know
least
what?
somebody's
You
getting
will
some good
be able,
content.
what?
At least somebody's getting some good content.
Well, you know what? She's going to be able to lead by example,
Yeah.
because she's going to be able to then go when they walk out of convention and they're going to be all holier than thou and whatever. And I'm sorry to judge like that, but that's just how it's going to be. She can be loving and supportive and kind. And they're going to be like, what does she have that I don't have? Why is she happy when I'm not?
Yeah.
Telling you,
It's
there's some
taken a
magic
lot of
there.
years, for my kids for me to see the result in that in my kids. Just be the person you want to be, the person you should be for them. It took my children a long time, but they finally get it. They finally see it. And but you can't push it. You can't want it for them.
No.
But now we have completely different conversations. They
Yes.
understand the changes I made when I left, which was very difficult for them at the time because there's a divorce involved,
Yeah.
and they had to stay with the party lines with their mother,
Hmm.
and it was difficult for them, and it took a lot of years. So when there's family separation, you can't want it more than them. All
Yeah.
you can do is be an example. You can live your life well, and they see it. That's all you can do.
I totally, totally agree. We are running out of time, but I want to really focus back on something that we touched on a little bit, but I want to end on it. And that is that what happens as the result if we don't learn this. I really want to nail that home, because I want everybody to walk away from this today saying, I must do better. I must find a way to speak my voice. If that's the only prick, the only little nudge that I feel like need to do. So I want to go back to what the resentment that builds, the illness that builds in your body when you hold all this inside for so long. Let's go back to that, Steve. I want to hear your words.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important for our own selves, just really for a healthier, happier life. Letting go of resentment, letting go of anger, letting go of, getting rid of anxiety, depression, illness. There's so much that circle around it. But one thing that really was important to me was to be a pattern breaker generationally. Even if we can't do it for ourselves, we can break patterns for generations. And I'm seeing that in my children, grandchildren now, that what I did 20 years ago is paying off now.
Yes.
And that was a huge motivation for myself. More than anything else is I don't want future generations to be stuck in the patterns that I grew up with for generations.
Yes.
So what do I need to do to change myself that I can not just leave the system, but to change who I am so they have better patterns to follow in the future?
Yes. And here's the thing that I want to just point out. Temporary moment of approval is not worth the long-term pain.
No.
So in the moment when you think, oh, this is going to be uncomfortable, this is going to be hard. Yes, it's temporarily going to be hard. But if you've had the conversation 487 times in the shower, in the car, and at the grocery store, in fact, in the middle of the night at 3:17 a.m., 55 times, but not with the person you need to have it with,
Yeah.
you're wasting so much time. That's another thing. People say, how do you get everything done? You want to know how I get things done? I don't lollygag around stuff. I don't overthink things to death. I just do it. If it's wrong, I'll pivot. I don't.
Really.
I don't have time. I got
Yeah.
stuff to do. Like,
Yeah. Don't wait until you have all the tools to do it right.
yeah,
Just do it because that's what builds the muscle.
it's not perfect, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah. Don't wait till you're brave enough. Just do it. And
Yes.
that'll give you courage. That'll give you bravery.
Amen. Oh, I can't wait for our show. I'm so excited. This is going to be so fun. I'm glad we don't have, usually when we end the show, I think, oh, we have to wait another month to have this conversation. Now we get to have it every week and I can hardly wait. Does anybody, what's that?
It'll be fun.
It's going to be fun. Okay, I want to know if anybody out there has any questions about what we're talking about today. And then I want to know if there's anything that you really, really wanted to talk about today, Steve, since I'm kind of blah-blahing.
We really.
Okay, so that was,
Everything, yeah. I mean, what I want is the goal is really to become someone who can say what is true with courage and kindness, and
Yes.
trust that our voice deserves a place in the room.
love that. That really just summarizes so much of what we're talking about. And intention, I love that you started out with saying it with compassion, because I think a lot of people use that excuse of, well, I'm just being honest. No, you're being an asshole.
Yeah, if you use that term, you're probably being an asshole.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. No, you're not.
No, you're not. You're being a
You're
jerk.
weaponizing
Stop.
honesty.
Exactly. Yeah. So many things and excuses that are out there. But yes, Susie's saying lead with love. Exactly. It is lead with love. And when you take the minute, you said it, take the moment between reacting and responding. Identify the emotions that are in that and then speak clearly. But take your time. That urgency, you said that too. Emotions make it feel urgent. It's not. Very few things must be said right this second. 99.9% of the time, you can take 60 seconds to regulate your emotions before you open your mouth.
Emotions feel like a pressure cooker that's going to blow, but it won't. Just hit the release valve. Let them settle down.
Yes.
Find
The
voice.
next, we're going to talk a lot more about all of this and also a lot about learning how to listen, because there's so much in that, and asking for clarification as we go through the communication tools that people need. But I just want to clarify that today, and also what we're doing, what you and I and so many of us are doing, and I hate to throw you in the same bus that I'm on, but I'm going to for a second.
Go right
We're
ahead.
not attacking the church. We're not attacking the system at all. What we are doing is shining a light and making it be a very clear modeling how to have a conversation about really important things that matter and are harmful and are hurting a lot of people. And trying to identify what the motive is behind that. So questioning enough that it's like, why are you still doing this? Why are you still behaving like this? And why do you not seem, it appears that you don't give a shit. So how can we work through this differently? And
Yeah.
keeping the heat on until we get to that point. So
Yeah, because it's so important to understand the unhealthy dynamics from which we came. Because it's really difficult to move forward until we understand where we were.
yes, I love that. My final word for people today is I want to ask you this one question. What would you say if you weren't afraid? What would you
Good.
say? It's a great question. It's just and maybe it's just for today. Maybe you could start every day on just what can I say today? What would I say today? Instead of it being the whole big thing like I would change my whole life, I would blah blah blah. Maybe it's like where would you go to lunch if you weren't afraid to say I have an opinion?
Yeah.
Um, but with that, so my other final thought is say people often say I don't want to rock the boat, but sometimes the boat's already taking on water. And I feel like that's very much where we're at. Honest conversation and communication. It goes back to being the peacekeeper versus peacemaker. Um, Honest communication isn't rocking the boat, it's saving the people that are in it.
Absolutely. It can feel like rocking the boat because
Oh,
we're trained not to,
yeah,
but it's
absolutely.
not.
100%. Okay, last word goes to you and then we're done.
Oh, I think I've had plenty
You
of
gave
last
your last
words.
word. Okay, awesome. All right, well, this show will be back every
All right.
week.
See you next
We're
week.
going to be starting this Wednesday at 11 o'clock. It'll be live streaming here on Survivor Rights as well as my personal page and on the LifeSpark YouTube channel. And we're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. For those of you who want to speed up and accelerate that learning process from the decades of work that Steve and I have both done, we are going to welcome you to that show and hope that you'll enjoy it. Thank you, everybody that's been out there watching. Thank you for all the feedback. And Vani, you are welcome. You are very, very welcome from our hearts. I'm going to speak up for Steve on that one.
Thank you.
Anybody out there, we love you, and we want very much for you to have the best life that you could possibly have now. So, with that, have an amazing day. Talk to y'all on Wednesday.